ladies and gentlemen, now hosting the RizzoCast, put your hands together for Steven Risotto!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back, people of this planet, to RizzoCast. My name is Steven Risotto. I cover the San Francisco Giants for SF Bay, and I'm the host of RizzoCast, a podcast that features current and former big league players, coaches, fans, media, and others who are regarded as some of the brightest minds in the game of baseball. Today's guest is Jerome Williams, a former Major League right-hander who pitched in parts of 11 big league seasons with the Giants, Cubs, Nationals, Angels, Astros, Rangers, Phillies. He's played for a lot of teams. He's played overseas. And he was known during his career by the shell necklace and the pink glove. We're going to get into that. He retired in 2018 and spent the last two seasons as the pitching coach. As a pitching coach in the New York Mets organization. He's currently looking for the next coaching job in his baseball life. So we talk more about that too. We talk about all of that, his journey coming up next on RizzoCast. This is episode number 127. And without a further ado, let's get started. All right, we are here with Jerome Williams. Jerome, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Doing good, bro. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure, and I can't wait to kind of get into your career. But, first things first, I noticed that, you're currently on the hunt for another coaching job in professional baseball. I mentioned in the intro that you've had the last few years with the New York Mets organization. And what are some of the hopes and desires in terms of, your next landing spot as a professional baseball coach? What are you hoping for?
Just passing on knowledge, coming up playing, that's what was passed on to me, not only from coaches but from other players too. So just passing on the knowledge that I have. I got drafted in '99, so it's been a long road with baseball. So I think I know a little bit about baseball, especially with the past 4 years I was with the Mets, and I think I can offer some knowledge for younger players.
Was coaching something that you ever thought about kind of as a player, or did that idea kind of grow on you in your retirement?
I want to say the last 4 years of playing, I was coaching at the same time. I was like touring some kids. When I was I think it started in 2016 when I was with the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I was in AAA, and they had prospects there with Alex Reyes, and we had another kid named Santo Ibalala. I was there with them, and I got approached from forgot his name, Izzy, Fishing Ingerhausen, because he was there, helping out with the Cardinals, and he asked me to talk to Alex Reyes. I talked with him. Kind of helped him along the road of him being a top prospect, throwing hard. I mentioned to him, hey, you need to use your changeup a little bit more. And then, all of a sudden, he gets to the big leagues that year. He was in the bullpen, got a start, and now we know that Alex Reyes now. Same with Sam. So, in 16, it started then. I was playing, but I felt like I could help out as a coach, as a mentor. And once I retired, it was a easier transition, but hard at the same time because I never had experience doing it. So for giving me that experience, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, I'm sure it becomes a little different when it becomes kind of a full-time job. And speaking of that, take me through kind of the day-to-day operations of being a pitching coach at the minor league level. I mentioned that you had done it the past probably about 2 years with the Mets organization. What are kind of your duties? What you wake up, you get to the ballpark, and where does it go from there?
So it's all about, getting with the, sometimes getting with the manager, getting with the coordinators, getting with the strength and conditioning, getting with the training staff, just to figure out what's going on for the day. How is this guy feeling today? Is he banged up? Talking with the manager, how are we gonna go through this game today? Who do we have available? How many pitches does this guy has? And once that happens, I always set up a daily schedule for the guys anyway. So the night before, they have a daily schedule. It tells them, what time's the game, who's starting, who's available, what time is stretch, what time is a bullpen stretch, who has a bullpen, who has a long toss, who has a light toss, who has a moderate day, and like I said, who's available. If we have certain things that we use, we do. So say like if we have PFPs that day, PFPs will be on that schedule. Player meetings, advanced meetings, going over, the opposing team. Every first game of the series, we go over the team. Also, too, I always put an inspirational quote at the end, just to have them understand, like, hey, this is not just only this baseball; it's life too. It's life lessons too. So I put that in English and Spanish, and then from that day on, we just follow the schedule. We follow things. If I need to grab a guy for video, check out video, see what he's done. Yesterday, what he did during the game. Go over some player plans with certain guys. See what they need to do. See how we can get them better, and then just keep on moving forward through the whole day until the game starts.
Do you think the quality of pitching at the minor league level is better than it was when you played? And I mean that because now you have velocity mixed with command, mixed with just overall stuff, movement. Do you think the quality of minor league pitching is more polished?
It's more of I don't want to say it's the combine of all of that. And when I was in the minor leagues, it was nothing of that. It was more of get people out. It didn't matter how hard you threw. Obviously, they wanted you to throw hard, but back then they looked at you as who you were, right? So if I was a guy that was a 92, 90, 93 guy, you're going to be a 92, 93 guy. Nowadays, we have so many kids that are bigger, faster, stronger, have stuff, with command. It's mind blowing. You look at kids that are in double A, like I had last year. I had a kid that topped out at 104, and I'm like, where is this going? Where is this game going? Every guy is from like 95 and up, and I'm like, wow. If you're a 95 and up in say 2003, if your whole staff in 03 was 95 and up, we would win probably 6 world championships in a row. Because you never at that time you never seen that.
Yeah.
You always had your mixtures of certain people that pitch in a certain way.
Is there a downside to that? Because a lot of these guys, yeah, they throw hard, but once they lose those hard fastballs, maybe they'll be exposed. Like for example, CC Sabathia had a great big league career, and then kind of when he started losing some of the fastball velocity and he hovered around the low 90s, maybe even high 80s towards the end, he had to kind of learn how to pitch. And, you kind of like yourself, you probably also had a blazing fastball and you had to learn how to pitch and you relied on the sinker. And I was watching video of you last night and you're backdooring the cutter and you're doing all sorts of things to get hitters out. And, you're getting ground balls. Is that a fear? Is that a downside to throwing hard at this young age? Do you feel like you have the responsibility to be like, okay, they throw hard. Now my job is to teach them how to pitch.
Yeah, I think that is my job. When you talk about guys with so much velocity, you talk about fear too at the same time. Some guys are fearful to try and locate a pitch, say inside to the hitter on the inner half. because if that ball gets away, he can potentially kill somebody. So just trying to teach command. I think that's the easiest thing you can do is teach command. I don't think you can teach velocity. I mean, if you have velocity, you have it. If you don't, you don't. But if I can teach you how to command the ball, then we have another weapon that we can use. Like I said, back in the day, it's like it was all about command. You had to command the baseball, but you didn't have the velocity. But if you have the velocity and you can command, that's another weapon that you can do. You can get to the big leagues as quick as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And was it a big deal for you to kind of, completely zone in on some of the newer things like a Rapsodo or TrackMan or Driveline, and kind of be fluent in some of the new technology that's around, especially since we live in an era where pitching has been kind of turned into more of a science. So do you feel like it's been important for you to kind of zone in on those elements of the new technology?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an old school at heart baseball player. We never had analytics. We never had technology back then. I mean, shoot, right now, if you can go back to the first phone that I had in 03, it was a Nokia. Now we got iPhones, we got Androids, we got everything is in our palm of our hands. It's all about technology now. And I wanted to buck the system when I was playing. And I told myself, I don't want that. And it doesn't make sense to me. I'm more of a traditionalist. But now getting into the baseball, getting into the coaching side nowadays, if you understand the numbers, you understand all the Rapsodos, the TrackMans of the world, the Driveline stuff, the Plyos, analytical numbers. If you understand that and you're a good baseball guy, that gives you more ammo for a kid that comes in, say from a Vanderbilt, that they know their numbers. Now they come to me and they tell me, now I can tell them an answer and they know that I'm not blowing smoke. And they know that I know what you're doing, what you're talking about. I understand what you're talking about. So you can't call me out on something that I don't know because I know it. And I think that's a really good tool for now coaches to understand those things, because sometimes these players that are coming in from big time colleges, they know more than us if you do not know what you're doing. So you have to have that type of that information that you're supposed to know, that you want to know, so you can actually help someone that actually will try and call you on your bluff.
Yeah. And all these big colleges now, they have that $3,000 camera or whatever it is with the screen that pops up, and it could track the spin, it could track the horizontal and vertical break. So
Yes.
they're all coming from rich programs like that. Now I do get a lot of young people that listen to this. If I'm a young pitcher trying to build arm strength or just trying to get tips in general, what would you tell me?
Well, the first thing I need to know is who you are first as a person. That's the main thing as a person for me, is I got to figure out who you are as a person. And once I figure out who you are as a person, I got to figure out how you learn. So there's multiple ways of learning. For me personally, there's 3 ways of learning. There's a visual learner, there's a learner that feels, and a learner that hears, that can hear. I got to figure out which one you are first. Once I figure that out, then we can start tackling what we need to attack. Then we can go with, I got to see you throw first. I got to see what you have. What do you have? What do you present to me that I can help to improve? Or do I have to rehaul this whole mechanics to get you where you want to be as optimal as possible? So that's the main thing for me first. Like, I don't even touch a kid until I get to know him as a person, get to know how he learns, have him comfortable, and then see him throw. And then once that happens, then we can tackle what we need to attack.
Interesting. Let's get into your playing career a little bit. I know doing some research for this, there's not a ton of players from Hawaii that have entered into Major League Baseball, and I think the correct number is it's like a little bit under 50. And if you look at the pitchers that were born there, a lot of them didn't really stick around past high school. So I was looking, Ron Darling, went to high school in like Connecticut. Charlie Huff was born there, but he went to high school somewhere else. Milt Wilcox, same thing. Sid Fernandez is kind of the only like true Hawaiian pitcher. So was he kind of like idolized by a lot of people in that area and in that state?
He was idolized at that time when we were younger. You had the Kualua, Kualua that he was there. He's from Waianae. At that time it was just Sid. It was just Sid as a pitcher, and then Benny Agbiani came into the picture. So when Benny came in, we were looking at him as a position player, like, oh my God, he's playing for the Mets. He did so much for the islands, and we're all in awe of them. Then I want to say, not to toot our horns, because 99 was the best class that actually came out of Hawaii. You have myself, you have Shane Victorino, Rex Rundgren, Chad Santos, Jandon Thornton Murray.
So now was Kurt Suzuki a little bit younger than you then?
So Kurt was, I want to say, when I was a senior, he was a sophomore. And my last year, we played in the state tournament. He played for a school, and he was, I think he was like a freshman or sophomore.
Yeah, because he's another one that I looked at, and he was one of the top guys on the position player side. So that's interesting that 99, 2000, 90, that around that time is kind of the more, do you think Hawaii is just gaining more popularity in baseball in general?
At that time, yes. And then after that, it kind of fell off a little bit. And then once everybody talks about it, once the Little League World Series, once the teams from Hawaii came in, that's when it got booming again.
Yeah, that's definitely a big moneymaker and a big in terms of getting the spotlight on a state and a city and all of that. Did you have a favorite team or player growing up? Because I know there's obviously nothing in terms of major league, close to anything in major league level in Hawaii. Did you have a team that you watched or kind of a player that you followed?
So I really didn't watch baseball because of the time difference.
Yeah.
So the time difference was all jacked up. But when I was either at school or I was practicing, games was already out in California. And the biggest money maker in Hawaii was cable TV, obviously, and then TBS. They did the Braves a lot. So I really didn't watch baseball, but I knew of certain players that I wanted to be like. There were two. One was Roger Clemens, and then the other one was Doc Gooden. Doc Gooden was like an idol to me growing up. My dad is originally from Brooklyn, from New York, and when I first started playing baseball, he taught me about the New York side of all of baseball. And I seen Doc Gooden pitch when I was very young, and I was in awe of an 18, 19-year-old in the big leagues doing what he was doing. Big fastball, curveball, being in a spotlight in New York, playing at Shea. And it was he was one of the guys I wanted to be like. So I patterned my whole high school career around him. I wanted to be exactly like Doc.
And I read somewhere that there's a local scout that compared you to a young Doc Gooden, and the the possibility of you like maybe being better than him at some point. Now, working with young pitchers now, I mean, a lot of them you hear they're on the top prospect lists, and they're on all these websites where they're being ranked. Um, sure, you want to hype up a player, but you also don't want to make it seem like, you know, they're carrying everything on their shoulders. So what is the right balance between like you're going to be a stud, but also, you know, you want to keep the pressure off of them? I don't know if that makes sense.
So the one thing I always tell young guys like that, I always ask them this one question, and they always answer it in a way of a fan, not as a player. So I ask them, who is your favorite player? And they'll tell me their favorite player. And I say, do you want to be like them? And they say, yes. And I go, that's the wrong answer. Because yes, say like for myself, I wanted to be exactly like Doc Gooding. But there's only one Doc.
Yeah.
Right? There's only one of them. And if I tell myself, oh yes, I want to be exactly like him, that is so much pressure to see what he did that I gotta try and do that. Like, that's a lot of pressure on me. So I always tell young kids, yes, you can strive to be who you want to be, which is say that one player. But how about you pave your way to be yourself? Be the best version of yourself. Because if you be the best version of yourself, when you're at that point of where your idol was, now there's other people saying that they want to be like you. So pave the way for yourself, not pave the way for someone that you look up to and you idolize.
You're making me want to run through a brick wall here, Jerome. I think teams should watch this too. Was it different for you being a first rounder? Because I know that's like a different thing altogether, where a lot of first rounders, they get the bonus and they're given like a longer leash than a guy maybe drafted in the 23rd round or 30th round. I know there's not those rounds anymore, I don't think. But was there an added pressure in being a first round pick?
I never thought about me being as just a first round pick. I thought about it as I need to work. You know, I need to work, and try and get to my ultimate goals. Just get to the big leagues and stay there. You know, there were times, you know, I had to deal with a lot of stuff off the field. You know, you probably read that, you know, my mother passed away. So, you know, I was 19 years old when my mom passed away, and I was in Double A, and I wanted to quit because, you know, that was my best friend. I was a baby of the family, and I was away from home, and you know, I didn't know what to do. But you know, there were so many things that happened that I needed to I needed to just work. You know, I had to work harder. For me, being a top prospect and being a high round pick, I felt like I had to work harder because I felt, my dad told me this, is like, when you're on top, somebody wants to take your spot. So in order for you to keep your spot, you need to work harder. So I just kept on working and working and working and working. You know, I did go through some tough times, you know, with being away from home for the first time. Didn't have a license until I got to the big leagues. Didn't know how to drive till I got to the big leagues. You know, so I had to deal with so much things and so much, you know, stuff with family and in baseball and being away from everything, and then going through a season where like these kids don't understand about traveling, getting on a bus, playing a 4-game series, and then you got to get on the bus the next day, that night, and then drive through the night and play the next morning. You know, so we had so much going on, and the only thing I was worried about was just to work.
Yeah, and I did read about your mom, and you were known throughout your career as the guy with the pink glove. And I know the pink glove, it was more than just a color. It was also, there's a meaning behind it, and you wore it to honor your mom. How did that kind of come about, and why did it mean so much to you to wear that in her honor?
So I was playing with Oakland. I was in Sacramento in 2009, And then I played winter ball. I did very well, and no teams called. So there was a guy down in Puerto Rico that knew a guy. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to play in Taiwan in 2010. 2010, go to Taiwan, and we all know Asian baseball, they have so much flash. They have so much different gloves, so much, protective gear, and it's very colorful out there. I mean, I love it. And with me, I love gloves and I love shoes. So I get there and I see all these gloves. I'm like, sweet. So one day I'm walking down the street and I see a glove, and it's a pink one. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. I like that. It's pretty cool. Maybe I want to get this. I just wanted to get it just to get it. Then I get it. And then that next year, I'm in indie ball. I'm in Lancaster. And it dawned on me that it's 2011. So 2011 would have been a 10-year anniversary of my mom passing away. So in 2011 in Lancaster, I break out the pink glove and I'm using it. Well, that pink glove gave me so much power that it got me 6-0 in Lancaster. I get picked up by the Angels, go to AAA in Salt Lake. I go 7-2. I get called up to the big leagues. I go 4-0. Then they bring me to Venezuela for a winter ball, so I can get up to 200 innings. I go 5-0. So that glove that year got me, I don't know if you can do the math real quick, but I think it's 23-2. So I went 23-2 that year, and it was all in memory of my mother. And so from that day on, I was known for the guy that wore the pink glove every single day, and to get awareness on breast cancer. Breast cancer took away my mom, and before the pink glove, it was the puka shell necklace.
That's right. Yep.
So the puka shell necklace was in memory of her too, because the puka shell necklace that I wore my rookie year was my mother's puka shell necklace she gave me. So I wore that through, I want to say 2005-ish, 2006, because for everybody who is watching this, when you get to the big leagues, you get into that mode of like, yes, I'm here. And I kind of got heavy. And the neck got a little bit bigger. So it became a choke chain around my neck. So I couldn't breathe. I got a little bit fat. So, but yeah, in 2010, that's when it started. And with the pink glove, it's just stayed with me through my whole career.
So where's the pink glove now? Is it like just lying around the house somewhere? Is it in like a display case?
So the first pink glove I have, it is in a display case with my mom in it. Mm-hmm. Another company seen the glove that I use, and they knew it was a Zet glove. So it's a Japanese glove. But there's a company in Taiwan called Woods that ends with a Z. And they were the one that actually gave me a contract with them, first American guy with a contract from Asia to use their gloves. So with those gloves, I want to say maybe 20 of them. I have 20 pink gloves around the house. So my youngest son uses one sometimes when he needs to, but I still have it.
That's awesome. And I'm sure with something like that, and you're raising awareness for such a big issue that affects so many people. Did anybody come up to you, like, any fans during your career where they're like, that's awesome that you're wearing a pink glove, and then they share their story of a loved one who either is battling breast cancer or has had breast cancer and passed from it? Did you ever get some fans sharing their stories to you constantly?
Actually, the stories that they were sharing wasn't that. Mm-hmm. It was the opposite. it was teasing. It was like, what are you doing? Why are you wearing this?
Oh wow.
Is that your sister's glove? Oh, look, you have something that you have your mother's glove. Oh, that's so cute. I had that. I'm warming up, and a guy said that to me, and I go, "Oh, did you lose a bet?" He goes, "Did you lose a bet?" I'm like, "No, I lost my mom." And they hushed up. They didn't say nothing. Then the next day they came up to me, and then they kind of read what was the reason behind it. And that was when I told people, like, understand the story before you to open your mouth. Like, understand the story, understand the reason why I'm doing this. And then once people found out the reason why, then those stories was coming up. They'd be like, "Wow, I lost someone with, prostate cancer, and different types of cancers." And then now the awareness was off. Like the ragging was off of me. It was more of like being acceptive and like supportive of it.
So I think you're a smart guy for not having Twitter or Instagram at this point. Did you?
Yeah.
I know you
Yeah.
used to have it, but like,
Yes.
and I know that there's some pretty bad racist comments that were against you, and
Mhm.
I mean, is it just like so peaceful now without having any of that, any social media?
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's cool. I mean, you see the true colors of people when stuff like that happens. Obviously, yes, we're in a profession where we are in the spotlight every single day, and we are watched every single day. And yes, people do have opinions, but you have to realize this: like, people don't understand. Like, if you've never been in the game on a professional level, people do not understand how tough it is, how difficult it is. It's very difficult. I mean, you've been around for a while. You understand it. You understand the game. Like, you understand what all of us have to go through. Leaving family, leaving your wife and kids. Dealing with off the field issues, dealing with front office issues. I mean, there's so many issues that we have to deal with, and all that issues we have to deal with, we have to go out there and perform at our best capability. And if we don't do it, oh, you suck. You don't belong out there. We're gonna attack you. Well, do you understand what I'm going through? No, people don't. So everybody thinks it's an easy job. It's an easy thing to do, but it's not.
Absolutely, and especially a lot of those people won't even say that to you ever in person because
Yeah,
they're only saying because they're hiding behind the screen. That's often
exactly.
so.
Exactly. It's like,
That's
come out here. You come out here for a week and see if you can hang with the best of the best on the field that's trying to take your job away from
hook them up to the Rapsodo and the
you.
have
Exactly.
them do PFPs. Yeah,
Yes. It's hard. It's hard.
absolutely. Few more things here I want to get because you played with maybe the most interesting trio and like iconic trio of players throughout your career.
Oh boy.
And it's Bonds, Trout, and Pujols. And you played with Pujols and Trout at the same time. But let's start with Bonds here because he was the first one.
Hmm.
And I read that I don't know if this was Bonds specifically, but I read that when you first came up through the Giants system, everybody called you Jeremy for whatever reason. Um, I mean, why was your name Jeremy to them? Did they just not know it was Jerome? I guess we'll get to Bonds in a sec, but that first did they know that it was Jerome? Were they just playing around? Why was your name Jeremy for like a little bit there?
So I tell that story because of one person and one person only, Felix Rodriguez.
Hmm.
So Fifi, straight from Dominican, I get to camp, and I had Chad Zerby right next to me. So Chad Zerby was there, and we're doing something, and Fifi is talking to me, but I'm 20 years old and I don't understand a lick of Spanish. at all. So he's talking to me in Spanish, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. So all I'm gonna do is just nod. I'm like, yeah, okay. So he calls me. He's like, hey, Gringo. I'm like, yeah, that means. Then Chad Zerb tells me, he's like, oh, he's calling you an American. I'm like, oh, okay. And then Fifi tells me, he's like, hey, oh, you don't speak Spanish. I'm like, no, I don't speak Spanish. Oh, you look Dominican. I'm like, no, I'm not Dominican. I'm not. So he's like, hey, what's your name? I go, Jerome. And I go, oh, Jeremy? I'm like, no, Jerome. Oh, Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy. So from that day on, they were playing a joke on me, but I really thought that they were just calling me Jeremy because they didn't know my name. So they call me Jeremy. They call me Jeremy this whole time, and I have to correct people later on in my career. So,
There's only two Jeromes in the history of baseball, with Jerome Walton being the other one, an outfielder in the '90s. So that was one other thing that I found out. Now back to Bonds real quick. What was it like being with him and watching him swing the bat? And obviously he's a guy who there's been a lot of discussion about whether he should be in the Hall of Fame or not. Uh, as a guy that played with him, what was it like watching him hit every single day?
it was in awe, just to see what he did day in day out. People don't understand. Like, I always have conversations with guys out here, in high school coaches, or just people in general, and it's like, do you think Barry was the greatest hitter of all time? No doubt. It's like, well, I really think, it's like Trout and all these guys. Well, yeah, I get that. Don't get me wrong; they're great in their time, but you mean to tell me that you can tell Trout or Pujols to go up to the plate and get walked 3 times in a game, and on that fourth AB, he sees one pitch and he hits it out? I mean, come on. I mean, his eye was so good. Yes, for all the speculation of what happened with him, I get all of that. But he put so many fans in the seats. He had people on the road cheering for him. The day in and day out, the stuff that he had to deal with the media, with all this stuff, with his dad passing away, with everything, with all that stuff going on, he had to go out there and perform. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much things that he had to deal with, and he went out there and performed to the best capabilities. I think he won five or six MVPs. I mean, 7 MVPs. There you go, 7 MVPs. So it's like, how can you not say this guy is good? Like I said before, I get what people are talking about, but when you put him on the field, he's the best player on the field. He's the guy that should be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt.
And another guy that I mentioned was Trout. And you saw Trout, Bonds was a little bit later in his career. It was the era where he was putting up the video game numbers. Trout's rookie year was 2012. You were there in 13, I think 14 too. And you saw the big monster years from Trout. And he was still a young guy at that time. So what was it like kind of watching him play? And I mean, those were some of the best years that we've ever seen in American League history statistically. So I'm sure it was awesome watching him too every day.
So I was with the Angels from 11 to 13. So I seen Trout come up at 11 as a September call-up. And then in 12, he got called up again on the same day of Bryce Harper. So we were in Cleveland, and Harper was in LA playing against the Dodgers. So in those years, 11, 12, and 13 that I seen him. And then I played against him in 14 and 15 when I was in Houston and Philly. Those years of Trout was incredible. Just to see, he was almost like a baby Bonds.
Yeah.
But at that time, not with the power. He did have power, but he also had when he came up, if he came up during from opening day, I swear I think he has over 100 stolen bags because of his play. Played good outfield. He was so with his arm at that time, but he got his arm better.
Yeah,
By far the best. Him and Borges was like 1 and 2. His plate discipline, understanding the plate. He did the little things too. He dropped down bunts. He did so many things that a guy at that age we thought that could never do. And I think the number one guy that helped him, that guided him through those times before he left was Torrey Hunter. Torrey Hunter helped him out a lot. Brought him under his wing, did everything for him, helped him out. And that's why he is who he is right now. I think Torrey helped him a lot. And just to see what he's done after that, he's a Hall of Famer in my books, first ballot.
and he's a running back too. And you mentioned the speed. Can you imagine like if teams let guys steal bases again, like how many steals he would have instead of like 4 or 5 a year, which is what he's at now? He would easily steal 35 to 40 a year. He'd be a 40-40 guy, like perennial every year. And
Exactly.
Teams don't let their guys steal unless like the success rate is like 75% or above. So
exactly. He could actually be, like how you said, a 40-40 guy every year.
yeah, 100%. And let's hope for a year of health for Trout.
Yes,
Obviously, even during some of his non-healthy years, he's still he always like misses like 2 months, but at the end of the year, it's like 35 bombs, 100 ribbies. It's like what? So hoping for a year of health for him. A few more things here before we wrap up. You played in the minor leagues, the big leagues, Taiwan, Mexico, independent ball, Mexican Winter League, Venezuelan Winter League, Puerto Rican Winter League. You played everywhere where anybody could, probably except maybe if you played for the Blue Jays, you would have played like in Canada technically. What are some of your takeaways in terms of getting to kind of travel the world the way you did? Because a lot of guys don't get to do that, or maybe they retire before they have the chance. But you are a very well-traveled person.
Yeah. I would have never thought when I was 17 years old that I would have been all around the world at my age now. I never would have thought that, because my only thought coming from Hawaii, the only thing that we know is just like, okay, big leagues, that's it, MLB. But once things happen, that's unfortunate. You're gonna have to figure out a way to get back to where you wanted to be. And there's a lot of different routes. There's a lot of different roads, and you have to find those roads. And you still have to keep on pushing forward. You can't say I'm going to give up. I never wanted to give up. The reason why I didn't want to give up for 2 reasons. My mom told me, hey, keep on playing until you can't play no more. And, okay, Mom, got you. And the second one is the biggest one, is for my kids. I didn't want my kids to look at me and be like, wow, Dad's a quitter. I didn't want them to think that. I always wanted them to think that, dang, Dad is like pushing, keep on going. Even though I see Dad going through some struggles, and he's not giving up. And that's the main thing I always say to everybody. It's like, I don't care what anybody says to you, never give up. Never have somebody tell you you can't do it, because they don't know what you're going through. But only you can do it for yourself. And that's what I've done, and I did that for 20 years. I did it for 20. And granted, I had those 20 years, because maybe if I didn't do it for those 20 years, who knows, we wouldn't be talking right now. So
I'd still find you somehow.
Huh?
I'd still find you somehow.
But yeah, just trying to find, just trying to find that passion. I always told myself, like, the day that I don't learn something new is the day that I step away from baseball. So for 20 years plus, I've been still learning something. So I'm still going to be in this game.
If you were to change anything, would you change it or would you keep it all the same?
Um, that's a mixed question. It's a mixed answer for me. Um, I would keep it the same, but also too, I think I would have done something different. I think I would have tried worked a little bit harder when I got to the big leagues instead of just relying on being this top prospect, relying on my talent, not worried about trying to get better, not trying to take care of myself. But on the other side, it's like there's all these other aspects of baseball that I experienced. I experienced, being in Taiwan, being over in Puerto Rico, being in Venezuela, understanding winter ball, playing in indie ball, playing for, I want to say, what was it, 7, 8 different teams. So it's like I got so much friendships out of those trips, as so much people that I know. There's so much other things that went through, like going over to the Philippines for the first time, going to Japan, going to Mexico, going to different countries. So it's like if I did my work, I probably would have never did all of that. But I didn't do my work, and I went through all of that. So it's kind of mixed.
Yeah. And real quick before we go, I got some rapid fire questions for you. You don't have to answer them super quick, but first things first, which big league hitter gave you the most fits?
Oh God. Everybody asks me that question and it always comes up straight to my head. Todd Helton.
Todd Helton. Interesting. I was gonna say Nelson Cruz because I looked at Nelson Cruz's stats against you. He took you deep 5 times.
Yeah. So I try and shy away from Nelson Cruz because every time Nelson Cruz comes up, I get butterflies in my stomach and I start shaking. Because yes, he has owned me. He owned me for his whole career. And every time I see him, I always just give him a look and he starts laughing. I'm like, dude, I don't want to talk to you no more.
You guys are like the same age, and he just signed like a 1-year deal with San Diego to be their DH.
I know, I've seen that. And the funniest thing about Nelson Cruz is, like, I faced him in the minor league. So he was with Nashville. I think Nashville was with
Milwaukee.
At that time, with Milwaukee. So the old Nashville Stadium, they had a guitar in left field. So if they hit the guitar, the actual player that hits the guitar gets an actual guitar. I think he has like 6 of them because of me. So I don't know.
Nelson Cruz, good answer. All right. If you weren't playing or coaching baseball, what would you be doing?
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know anything but baseball. From 17 until now, all I know is baseball. Like, I joke around with parents and players and go, hey, your mom and dad, they have a 9 to 5, right? They go, yeah. Well, you know what my 9 to 5 is noon to midnight because I'm at the baseball field every single day. So I don't know what I'll be doing.
Wouldn't rather be anywhere else, huh?
Exactly.
So I already asked you where the glove was, where the gloves plural were. Which big league team do you turn on the TV now and root for?
So last year was the first time I actually really watched baseball. Because I don't like watching baseball. I hate watching it. Because there's some things that happens in my mind. Like, I always look at players that's playing, and I'm like, how are you still playing and I'm not? So, but this year was the first time watching, and I really wanted Dusty to get a World Series. I really wanted Dusty to get one. I could care less if everybody hates the Astros or whatever it is. I could care less. I played for the Astros. I could care less what happened with me. Care less what happened with all the stuff that they went through. I wanted Dusty to get a World Series. He deserves one, and he got one.
And all those guys from whatever happened in 2017, they're all gone. There's like 3 of them left. So for the Astros to be villainized, that was very interesting. But yeah, congrats to Dusty for sure. And the last one here, who do you think is the best young player in the game today?
Oh, wow. That's No, what are you considering young?
Nelson Cruz. No, just kidding. I guess 20s. I guess
Okay.
20s.
I want to say the kid from Seattle,
He'd be my pick too, Julio
yep.
Rodriguez.
Julio Rodriguez. He reminds me of a up and coming Griffey. Like when Griffey was bursting onto the scene, that's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of a Griffey. Like he's really good. He's gonna be he's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. And there's one more player, and I want you guys to watch out for him because I'll be biased because I worked with him since he was in Kingsport. Francisco Alvarez.
I
Watch
almost
out.
brought him up today. Yeah.
Yes,
Catcher.
watch out for him. Watch out for him. He's a young kid that's understanding the game very quick, and watch out.
Interesting. Awesome, Jerome. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I know we had some technical problems that maybe I know for a fact the listeners and viewers will not see because I'll take care of that.
Okay.
And I appreciate you staying with me here and coming on the show. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Anytime.
And of course, everybody could follow the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at RizzoCast. Go check it out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. And yeah, some more episodes to come. And see you next time.